Hello, my name is Caleb Smith with the Rocket Miner newspaper, here to provide your update for July 19th, 2020, a Sunday. One of the interesting bits of feedback that I'm often asked, or questions related to coverage, is the how do things end up on the front page? And I'll admit, usually that question's framed in the how come this is on the front page and this isn't, or why did you devote this much column space to this topic when I'm arguing that this was more important? Um, I'll admit it, there's some subjective stuff in there. There's some things that we are putting on there because we know the public's been asking questions. There's sometimes issue we highlight because we think that this is an important trend or has the ability potential to turn into something greater. Uh, Personally, I wish I could put a lot more stories on any single front page, but if you put 12 stories on the front page, that's hard to design, hard to read, hard to hard to make work. There are some times where I have sometimes my favorite story of the day gets bumped from the physical edition. Um, it's its size, the story, it's the story approach that is taken, um, um, potentially the art. It might be graphic heavy, which is harder to reproduce in the print edition versus photos, or it doesn't. It's got it's extra long and it's extra wordy and there's no art and that's kind of harder to make look interesting, look engaging. There are all sorts of challenges that come with that, and sometimes it's just time. This is an important story. I wish I could give it more time, more attention, concentrate the spotlight on certain things, but other things blew up, sometimes metaphorically, sometimes literally, and the space I had saved got taken by something else. It gets shifted, and I'd still rather get it in the paper because it's important as opposed to holding it. I know by our design, our newspapers are front loaded. Try to put the biggest stuff as close to the beginning as possible, but there's plenty of stuff to be um, found, treasured by people who make it to the end. There's rewards for that, and same for online edition. If whether it's the e-edition, clicking through those pages, or the stories that pretty much any story that makes it up in the print edition, you can also find in the online edition. There's honestly, I think more than 50% of the stuff we push through it ends up being online only. Lots of stuff to be found there if you're um, willing to invest the time. Anyway, I say this as preamble to a series of stories that I'm hoping to be um, starting to kick out in this coming week, written by not by the usual Rocket Miner staff, but by students of Sweetwater County. A couple months ago, back in the spring, we were approached by the Sweetwater County Historical Museum. The good, hardworking people there reached out to multiple news outlets talking about how they were putting together a contest, a challenge for local kids, aspiring writers, essayists to put some of their words together for. Um, some of it was a contest, some of it's actually just good practice, a good writing exercise. This was at a time when we were doing a bit more. There were more restrictions in place than there presently are. Their schools were still being conducted remotely, and they're just looking for a way to honor graduating seniors with their usual scholarship contest, in addition to younger grades hosting an essay contest. And when I first heard about this, I was like, great, I'd love to get a chance to feature local voices, perspectives. Um, I know part of the reason I'm doing the job I am today is that I um, received certain opportunities back when I was a younger student. Um, actually started back in 8th grade, was when I first had one of the pieces I'd written myself up here in the local newspaper back in Missouri. Blame that editor if you don't like how this is all going. Anyway, I said, we want to participate, please. Well, we're happy to we will make space for them. And then they told me what kind of word count they were thinking about. And I was still excited. And I'm also going, this is going to take some extra work because if they maximize the suggested word limit, that might be multiple pages. As a general rule of thumb, this is average, but for about every 100 words that a person writes, that's about 4 inches of text in our Rocket Miner physical editions. So, and it scales up. So, I mean, if you have about 1,000 words, that's about 40 inches, which is it, without headline or photos or bylines or anything, that right there is about 2 full columns, and it can vary. And it goes from there. We're hopeful to be able to kick off this series this next Saturday. If not, we'll try even harder to get in after that. But I wanted to highlight and read to you the winning scholarship, which had been judged and picked the best. And this is by Celeste Keelin of Rock Springs. As part of this contest, she was asked to the topics that students were given was that for the scholarship, the topic was how a local historical event or person impacts my life. And for the essay contest, the topic was a local historical event that inspires me. And in response to those prompts, Celeste wrote The History in Me, which I will do my best to live up to the words that she shared with us. James Baldwin once said, "People are trapped in history, and history is trapped in us." The quote states a truth that is sometimes hard to wrap our heads around. It's hard to realize that one day our present will be history and our story will linger. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, history has been on my mind a lot recently. While contemplating the historical events that formed our tightly knit community, I realized how immensely the discovery of coal in Sweetwater County and my great-grandfather's decision have impacted my life. It determined my family's geographical placement, shaped the mindset that has been passed down to me, and provided me with a community that I could thrive in. Rock Springs is a classic boomtown created by the railroad and the discovery of coal. The first documented record of coal discovery in Rock Springs was in 1850. The coal seam that was discovered indicated that under Sweetwater County was an extensive coal supply. Mining for coal in Rock Springs began in 1868. One of the most impressive forms of evidence left behind from the coal mining era is the Reliance tipple. The tipple was used to ship out the enormous amount of coal being dug up from the area. In order to staff the 130 mines that were functioning in Sweetwater County, the mines hired men from across the nation and around the globe. It is thought that an impressive 56 different nationalities pioneered the city of Rock Springs. Each of their cultural and historical footprints can be seen today. The miners from my family fall into the category miners from across the nation. My great-grandfather, Carlos Jefferson Keelin, was born in Missouri, but moved to Illinois to work in the coal mines there. He met his wife, Eugenia Miller, in Illinois and began a family. When my grandfather was 7, Carlos and Eugenia decided to move to Wyoming. He came to Rock Springs to work in the coal mines. Carlos worked in various coal mines in Sweetwater County as a mechanic until the mines began to catch fire and close. Rock Springs' last coal mine closed in 1963. While he continued in the mining business, the medium he was mining for changed. He got a job at FMC mining Trona in 1952. He worked there for 22 years before his retirement in 1974. My grandfather, Curtis Keelin Sr., followed in his footsteps, getting hired at FMC and working there until he retired as well. My dad went into another popular industry in Rock Springs, the oil field. The discovery of coal moved my family to Rock Springs and led to me being born and raised in Rock Springs. In rigorous labor studies, like mining, a certain mindset is evident. Back in the early 1900s, when my great-grandfather was a miner, the world was a more unforgiving place. This was especially true in the West. Most of the government aid for struggling family that exists today wasn't around then. Men like Carlos Jefferson Keelin made a living using their hands and had to be willing to put in the hard work to literally put food on the table for their families. A mindset of determination and incredible work ethic developed to be successful in the occupation of a miner in the West. These are traits that have been passed down through the generations. Both his son, Curtis Keelin Sr., and his grandson, Carlos A. Keelin, held a similar occupation to him. These careers also tied these men to Wyoming. All of these men were determined to make a good life for themselves, and did. I can also see this mindset in myself. I have always been a very serious student, refusing to take anything below an A. Although Carlos Jefferson Keelin retired from the mines, he still participated in all the local coal camp reunions. He loved this community and was actively involved with it. He passed that love down to his son, Curtis Keelin Sr. Shortly before Curtis Keelin Sr. retired, he created the local business, the Concrete Palace. He participated in the Red Desert Roundup Parade and the Home and Garden Show every year. He used his love of Halloween to spoil the town. On Halloween, Curtis Keelin Sr.'s house was always by far the best decorated. He also decorated the Rock Springs Historical Museum before donating all his decorations there. Like my great-grandfather and grandfather, I was an active member of my high school community. I was on the swim, indoor track, and outdoor track teams. I was also a member of the Rock Springs Health Academy, Tigers for Literacy, president of the Rock Springs National Honor Society, and have over 200 hours of community service. Rock Springs, like many other cities, has some dark patches in its history. The town's reputation was tarnished with evidence of corruption and the Chinese massacre that took place on September 2nd, 1885. However, through those horrific times, a tight-knit community was formed. During the coal boom, miners were coming from all over. Most of them came alone, all with different cultures and backgrounds, but they were bonded together through common careers. The bonds that were formed between early families and miners still exist today. Sweetwater County is a community that cares for its citizens. This was made evident at numerous fundraisers like Make-A-Wish and the parades for the class of 2020. The community has raised me into the person that I am. In conclusion, I believe the domino effect is quite evident in my family story. The discovery of the abundant coal supply in Rock Springs, coupled with my great-grandfather's decisions, created me. The Rock Springs coal boom brought my family to the West, and the job opportunities in Wyoming have cemented us here. The willingness to work hard and succeed are traits that have been passed down through my family, traits that will enable me to accomplish my dream of being, not just a doctor, but an outstanding doctor that will reform the healthcare system in Wyoming. My family coming west provided me with a community that has my back and is cheering me on. History created me and now has its eyes on me. I fully intend on living a life worthy of recording. That was the scholarship contest winning entry by Celeste Keelin of Rock Springs. According to information I've provided, Celeste is attending the University of Wyoming this fall, majoring in physiology / pre-med. I certainly enjoyed reading this bit. I be looking. I don't know if I gave it true justice as Celeste would have reading it herself, but please encourage it to share it with others. There's a lot of us here are proud of those who came before us, are proud to be transplants who have made this place their home, and still be looking to add to the stories and the tales that inspire others, whether it's making sure that we remember the heroes of the past, or being willing to rise up to carry on the high standards that we've been taught and to continue forward. As Celeste said at the end, history has its eyes on us. Let's give them something worth watching. My name is Caleb Smith with the Rocket Miner newspaper, wishing you a good day and a safe tomorrow.